Yeah. Look at those ducks. Here they come. Here they come.
You know, we don't have the countdown. Good morning,
Yeah,
guys.
I just realized that shit.
That's it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
All right, let's kill the.
Kill the feeding of the ducks.
Good.
I realize we don't have a countdown. Okay, this
All right.
is
No
not the
countdown,
final
no
countdown.
nothing. It's okay. It
Yeah.
happens.
Well, we got your attention. We got your attention. Thank you for stopping.
It happens.
Thank you for stopping that scroll. And here we are, baby. It is Friday. So welcome.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing? Oh my goodness, what a day, what a day.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Guys.
What a warning, what a week. How's
What a
everybody's
week.
week?
Yeah.
Had a
Super
really good
busy,
week, huh?
man. Oh, right.
It's been
Man, on
hectic.
this- I don't know if it's hectic. I don't like my light, my little thing. You know, I'm like, ooh, trying to. Yeah, I know. I'm having like problem. I don't know. I can't. I don't know what the hell I'm doing
Now
this
you have
morning.
me
but
self-conscious
alright.
about my light. How's my light?
No, I need the. You guys are pretty and young. I need the.
Stop it.
Well, the light is fine. I mean, honestly, it's fine.
Stop it.
But good
Ooh.
morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I
Good
mean,
morning.
I'm sure we've had a
Alright.
good week. We've been busy. The shift is on. Everything's going through. The sun is beaming on us. Is going crazy on us. Is making us get some suntans when we're out there. I mean,
Yes.
it
Sometimes
is-
it's a little bit hot. You know, like you're schwitzing. If I'm gonna use my
man.
Yiddish properly.
What
And-
is schwitzing?
Like you know, you're hot and it's like
sweating
you're
probably.
like sweating
Like,
and
it's muggy. Like,
muggy
it's pretty
and
muggy
sticky
out.
and
Pretty
yeah.
muggy out. That I will say.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's I mean, but it's still a good feeling. And look, the
Oh, better than the
market's
snow,
doing
guys.
well too. But
Yeah.
like any other seasoned agent that's out there, any other, agent that we actually been in the market just for a couple of years, we all run through this one thing. It always happens to us. I mean, it's not utopia world for us in real estate world. It's not the oh my God, this is, we're making millions of dollars. It's always this one hiccup, this flat tire, that all of a sudden we actually get into this moment of not knowing what to do when it occurs to us. I mean, things like violations, things like inspections, things like, co-op denials.
Yeah.
I mean, what other things do you guys see out there before we
When
start
you have
talking
a
about
deal,
it?
you think you're on the contract, you think that
Right.
this is the finish line, and then things happen. I've seen I guess 27 years of business. I think in my first 10 years, you remember when you guys probably don't remember, there were times where we were actually going to have sit down contract signing with buyers and sellers, and the sellers that we had decided to drive themselves, husband and wife. The attorney was in Nassau County in Valley Stream, I
Okay.
believe, at the time for those sellers. And that poor seller got a heart attack on the way,
Oh no.
and he did not make it.
Talk about a deal killer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how to solve this? Well, not happening. Anyway, but that was probably like I was like,
Holy
I could not even. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay, this is.
That's-
I'm
sure
sure.
we've
I don't know
had-
out there, guys, if you have crazy stories
Absolutely.
of things
Put it in the
going
chat.
under contract or after contract.
Yeah.
That a lot of the stuff are not as drastic. I haven't seen a deal. Very few. There is always a little something, and with experience, you can always cure it. But there are stuff that could be really, really scary to new agents, right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about
I don't know how I
appraisal
would
issue.
responded in that issue.
Hmm?
I don't know how I would have responded in that issue if the seller had a heart attack on the way to the closing. Like, did you
Yeah.
close that day?
Nope.
No, we never
Can't.
closed. We
You
never
can't.
closed.
Oh my
Like you
God.
had to let the wife mourn,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That's
then
crazy.
then it never happened, and then in the end, she never wanted to sell. She just wanted to remain in the house and
Yeah.
just
Becomes an
figure out.
emotional thing,
It's
or it depends
enormous.
on the
Yeah,
situation. I mean, I've heard stories where it depends on the situation. Obviously they mourn, and months
Hmm.
later, and I'm talking about months later, they
yeah,
decide to sell, and then it becomes an estate the situation.
yeah.
Wow.
So even that probate stuff takes a long time as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole new world. Let's just put it
Mm-hmm.
that way when that occurs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I agree. Once the
yeah.
seller or buyer too, because that's the other thing too. Unfortunately, I've read stories where the buyer unfortunately had that same situation, and there it goes. Like now you
Yeah.
need to get out there and find a new one. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
I had an issue. It wasn't as severe as that. Oh my
right,
God.
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Jeez. But what I will say is that my deal was we actually were on the market for quite some time, longer than I even wanted to be on the market. All right, we were coming close to the end of the contract. Finally found the buyer. Buyer came through. I even increased the buyer's commission, and then like literally a week later, we got it. We got a deal in, right? Going through the whole process. This is right before the pandemic. All right, go through the whole
Yeah.
process. Pandemic hits. Buyers like they're taking forever to go through the application. Finally, they do it. When they go through the application, buyer gets approved. The seller loses her job,
Oh.
and then she's like, I don't like. She was still kind of gonna go through with it,
Yeah.
but then she's like, I would have to find something to rent that's like a 2 bedroom at that time for like 1,300 or something like that. I was like, that's not gonna happen. So long story short, we didn't close. We never closed, and she's still there in that apartment.
Yeah, yeah. So those are crazy stuff. Those are like bank issues, situations that change with buyers, sellers. We recently had um, a buyer that was buying a two-family house. He single guy. He used to be working on online, working for one of the big armed force in United States for as a contractor. Not he was not in the armed force. He was working for one of the big agencies, and he was working online. And all of a sudden, they decided not to have him work online anymore, and they've been sending him to different places for months at a time. Lately, he's even like in a territory in America, but it's like really far, and we're ready to close that loan. And the bank is actually cannot verify, even the armed force cannot even verify that he's going to be stationed in New York to do his work, because he's not. So now he cannot even get the mortgage as a primary residence. This is a two-family house. The rates just changed. It was like, oh, we're trying to delay stuff. All of a sudden, rework thing, and maybe we'll find some solution. Maybe we'll work a different loan. Maybe we'll find somebody else to do the loan. And then all of a sudden, rate change, and his ratios are completely off. And it's like 5 months on contract, and that we couldn't solve. It's not always that bad. It's not always that bad. I think, like we were talking earlier, have you worked in contract where you are not too sure about the buyer's, not the buyer's ability, but the bank of choice ability from that buyer to actually close the deal? I've had it where I was not too sure, and working with the seller and say, look, let's put something in, let's put a clause in the contract that they're going to have 30 days to issue a commitment. 30 days, you want to be nice, 45 days. And if it's not happening, the buyer does not have the choice to just walk away. They have to go with the bank we're going to tell them to go to. Again, this is something that you already have prepared. The bank that is in standby should know about the deal. And it's been happening a few times. Like when I have the gut feeling, I'm like, I don't know, man. This is coming from another agent. I checked everybody out. The buyer is right, but I'm not sure about the bank. Not sure. I'm hearing stuff I'm not comfortable with, and the seller wants to go through with that deal. So I give them the option to have for the buyer to actually reapply with their lender of choice. Oh, you muted, darling. You muted.
So let's go over some easy ones so that the viewers can obviously chime in and everything. I mean, easy ones like appraisals, or maybe in the beginning of the process, or when you're actually dealing with inspections as well. That's another one that actually runs into the point of them seeing little things or big things, right? And how do we resolve them? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, there's moments where I've actually had where either the roof needed work, or there were certain points of the rooms that needed either fixing, or the kitchens, actually needed new plumbing. So, the way I resolved two of the problems that I actually had like that, one with the roof and the other one with the plumbing, was the fact that when going back to the seller saying, "Hey, seller, listen, we have these amount of issues right now." Before doing that, what I did was I actually got a contractor in there as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? The next time around, and I was like, "Hey, listen, give me a quick estimate. Let me know what this looks like, and let me go back to the seller and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on. This is how much it's going to cost. How can we work this out so it can work for both of us, both the buyer and the seller?" And of course, we renegotiated everything before we went to contract, but the prices were a little different, a little bit of credit here and there, but that was pretty much an easy, sort of
Easy
easy situation.
fix.
What do you guys do? I mean, what about you? Did you have any inspection ones that you think?
Inspection issues. Again, because the inspections are so personal to the inspector, you don't
Yep.
necessarily have to agree with it. You can set the premises when you structure your deal, when you're selling it, to sell as is, therefore reflected in the price. So I would monitor, I would basically guide the buyer's agent and say, here, let's not even play games here. The inspection is just going to be the inspection just cause, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just to make everybody happy. But we know it's an older house. We know down the line things are not new. They will have to be replaced. And it's an as is situation.
Right.
Sometimes the seller will want to fix some things, sometimes not. I had not even appraisal issue. Oh man, I hate it when I don't know if you guys hate it. You're
Oh,
getting a deal. Hold
always
on. That
crossing my
is
fingers.
a conventional loan. Listen to this. Conventional loans, you go to contract, conventional loans, you get it approved as a conventional loan. And along the way, for some reason, you don't get aware that the loan was switched from a conventional to an FHA. The attorneys don't send you any notice. Nobody tells you anything, not even the buyer's agent. You come to the appraisal and the appraiser say, oh, there is peeling paint here. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, this is a conventional loan. What peeling paint? And the guy shows up and he looks like an idiot and he's like, this is an FHA. And go ahead, Ed. Yeah, you muted again.
He takes off a piece of the paint and then he tastes it. He's like, oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not, and that's when he makes a note on his report.
I know. So those are things that get me mad, and it's like calling back the agents, calling back the attorney that you recommended to the seller to help them represent them, and say, dude, how come I was not aware of this very important fact?
Yeah.
It is unnerving because right now you look like a freaking idiot. And then you're like, and the sellers signed that paper. They probably didn't even know what they were selling. And it's like, why do we have to do this? I thought we didn't have to deal with the appraisal, their demands on peeling paint and this and that and like little stuff. And then, so it could be resolved with patience. You can re-explain the situation.
Yeah.
Have And I've had it where I've had actually the buyer pay for some of the repairs that the appraiser wanted, small stuff. And then like, dude, you wanted to go into an FHA. We had never agreed on this. The couple $100 for fixing the paint, the soffit, this and that. It's on you. Sorry.
Ed, you say we're going to say something?
Yeah, I had an appraisal issue one time, man. It actually, I asked the appraiser if they've ever been in the building, but they gave me a response that, it didn't sound too confident. Long story short, they went through their appraisal, they measured what they needed to. I provided comps anyway, but they appraised it like $15,000 less than what we were in the contract for. And I was just like, oh man, that's terrible. But there's moments in time where this is going to happen. The good thing is, and what I would recommend is, if you're on the listing end, this would be a conversation you have with your seller ahead of time. You never know what the appraisal report's going to come in at. So you tell them up front, hey, look, the appraiser's going to come in, they're going to appraise the property. I'm going to provide some reports justifying the reason why we're under contract for what we're under contract for. Okay. And then, if in the event the report comes back, three things can happen. You're either going to get it appraised at what we're in the contract for, it can appraise more, or it can appraise less.
Right.
Right.
I've had cases where the appraiser had no idea, especially in co-op appraisal, no idea about the building, came from Suffolk County, does not understand the blurred line. It's not even about the neighborhood. In co-ops, it's about the building and its amenities and so on and so forth. And sometimes there are no other buildings to even compare it to. And you have to use, and you have enough comps within that building or the complex. If it's a complex, if the guy doesn't know there is a complex, if he hasn't done his due diligence, if he doesn't know, if he hasn't even contacted management to know that there is like several buildings, a lot of the times you're going to be doomed, but you can contest it. We know with the fact that here, this is what it is. This is the complex. It has that many buildings, that many units. What the comparables that were used were completely out of range. Has nothing to do with anything. That don't have to make him look like an idiot, but just say, like we need to reappraise within that complex. We have enough comps for that.
Yeah. So that's a good, again, appraisals we can always create another topic on that. Obviously we want to start blitzing some of these other ones that we have, but certainly create a topic for that so that our folks can actually know exactly what to do with an appraisals. Because again, we could be at this for hours when speaking about what to do, what not to do with appraisals, and the do's and don'ts, and that always works out. Another thing that actually that runs into a lot is not only appraisals. You also, Gigi, you were talking about it this morning, which is title issues, which is another one that runs into a problem. How did you handle it? And what happened there?
All right. A lot of the time, title issues in New York City, things don't always get recorded properly for some reason. We know that, right?
Yeah.
And you could dig ACRES, which is a New York City website for records and all that, and not have it. Thankfully, if your seller, because I'm on the listing side, is organized, a lot of the times it could be old mortgages not being, mortgage satisfactions not being recorded. That may not kill the deal, but that could, depending on the title company. It may also, it's going to delay the process. So it's to be very patient and approach your seller and let's tell them, I know they're in the middle of packing and moving and all this, but they're going to have to go back to their old closing package. And that's a lot of the times I already prepare them during the listing appointment and tell them, let's put handy your old closing package with all the documents you had, because that could be easy. Like that little paper that the old mortgage was satisfied and you close on the new property. That's something, if it wasn't recorded well, could be, just a proof that, yes, like we can move forward. So anytime possible, I would tell the seller, when we get the listing, let's take out your old closing package, okay? Because I've seen you've had several times you've been refinancing this property, all right? And then you had an old property, you had refinance, and then you closed down. Let's get everything handy. And sometimes when they actually listen to you, it delays a little bit, but it doesn't kill the deal. Very simple stuff to
I
do.
agree.
Do you have your old closing package?
Especially when you're dealing with a seller who's had the house for over 10 years, 15 years, and they've actually, as you said, done their refi. I've actually had sellers who the bank or the lending company no longer exists.
Oh, yeah.
And imagine if you didn't do what you just said, which was, go into like all your paperwork so that when the attorneys or when the title companies are actually going after this information, they at least know where to research or how to research it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, titles can, once it gets to the point of, especially when you're approved, clear to close, all that great stuff. I mean, it gets to the point that when they start doing their due diligence, that's the one thing that actually slows everything down. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, where's this? Where did that go? I can't find this person. Can't find that person. This person doesn't
Especially
have
when
the
it's the chain of ownership
yeah.
of, and
Oh my
then the
God.
transfer of title,
Yep.
and that's where we have no control, and could be to the interpretation of some title companies. So
Yep.
again, the thing is, if as you go through your real estate career, would be to align with different vendors that are going to be on your side, like an attorney,
Absolutely.
like a bank, like the attorney. You can pair them with a title company you've been working well with. I mean, again, in New York, it could be difficult because attorneys have a lot of control over the title companies, but the consumer still has a choice to choose their own title company, and not
Yep.
everybody knows that. So that could alleviate a lot of problems when all the professionals on your side are aligned together and can help you out should something really happen.
Yeah. I agree 1,000% on that.
Right.
Definitely.
So that is
So
the key. That's the key thing, to align with vendors you feel comfortable with and get
and
educated on the matter.
absolutely
Yeah.
get educated and have your sellers, fully prepared, fully informed,
Exactly.
and everything.
Yeah.
So
Do
now,
you
I mean,
know?
that's one guy.
Do you know what else can be a deal killer?
What's that, sir?
I don't know. I'm laughing already. I'm like, I see Ed's little grin. I'm gonna hear some story. I'm like, go ahead,
Right.
go ahead.
Dads can be deal killers when they're going to inspect the houses with their kids, and they honestly believe and are very confident enough that they are very skilled in that field. But they don't leave it to the professionals, and they tend to just stick their 2 cents in there and just kind of let people know, hey, in my experience, this is not good and this is that. So there has been issues where parents have stepped in, but in all honesty, I've had to kind of let them know, hey, look, let the inspector do what they're doing. This is something that's simple. If it's common, hey, look, this happens. So I have to kind of reassure them. But in my opinion, I think that's the only way you can try to like alleviate the issue, is to just pull them to the side and say, hey, look, we hired somebody
It
for
could
that
be
job.
sticky, if dad is the one providing the down payment, it's like,
So here, I mean, what happened to me the first time around, or during the beginning of this, is one time I was with, with the kids, and the dad all of a sudden disappeared. Like, I'm like, where in the world did he go?
Where the fuck is this
Right.
guy?
Right? I'm like, where the hell did he go? And I found out later, 20 minutes later, mind you, he was in the basement running the water, opening up the electrical panels, doing all this other stuff and I'm like, oh my God. And the inspector, he looked a little upset because he was like, what are you doing touching that stuff? Right? Don't
it's a
open
liability.
nothing. Don't touch anything, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with him, but it does happen. So I make sure every time I have a parent with us, I'm like, you guys can follow the inspector if you want. Go ahead, have fun with it, but do not touch anything.
Yeah.
If you have opinions, go ahead. Let the inspector
Listen,
know.
even relatives, okay, even relatives. I mean, not just parents, relatives. I had somebody that came in. Funny story. I had somebody that came in with all 6 of their sisters and the mom. They were like, we're buying this for my mom. They gave me the whole story. And I said, you know what? They came to me directly. But it was like multiple offers that came in directly. So, they weren't the only one. But they're like, listen, this is my mom. We want to make sure we're doing good by her. They get the inspector there. The inspector comes. They're going through the whole house. And the inspector, casually mentions, yeah, you know what? These windows right here, they're actually the original windows, like he's going through the thing. So the older sister took it upon herself to be like, oh, these are the original windows. So that means we could kind of work in like a little deal for the windows. And I'm looking at
$30,000 right there.
I'm looking at her like, okay. And I'm not gonna lie to you, they actually came like it was like a bidding war that came in.
Yeah,
Everybody
I can
was
imagine
going
that.
up, so they came up. They were the highest ones. Fine, we bring them in. She was trying to come in high and then chop everything down. She said, "Oh, we could bring that up. Maybe we can negotiate that in the deal." And I'm sitting there, and I didn't say nothing. Got to the end of the inspection. I find out that was the fourth time that this inspector was inspecting a house for them. Fourth time. And he's like, I feel bad charging them, but hey, like I gotta charge them. This is every other house. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for the heads up. So he leaves. I pull him to the side. I'm like, what's going on? What do you guys want to talk about? Oh yeah, these windows are kind of the original windows, and I already heard it. So, oh yeah, okay, cool. I just want you guys to know that the seller is not budget from this deal, and the offer that you are submitting is the offer you're gonna have to submit with or without new windows. Okay. Yeah. So if we have to change that, I'm just letting you know that the seller's going to go back to the next offer. Oh, but that shouldn't be fair. Like they should try to negotiate with us. I said, listen, there's multiple offers on the table.
Price.
Yeah. So there's nothing else I can do. Yeah. So take it or leave it. And long story short, they did not go forward with the house. So I'm pretty sure they did a couple of other inspections along the way. But hey,
I mean, there's a two-way story there, because honestly, that means they're not working with the buyer's agent to help them and guide them in that sense of, look, correct, this is stuff that you shouldn't be doing, right? And finding them properties that actually make sense for them.
Yeah.
Right. And in that sense, also, one thing that hearing that is, it's important to have a really good inspector.
Yeah.
Because there are inspectors that would have taken that easily by, charging them. There's other inspectors that actually take the shortcut and be like, all right, you know what, I'll do this, this, and this. And there's other ones that would do way too much detailed information that I'm like, oh my God, bro, today, just because you saw a roach go by? I mean, seriously?
Sometimes it's a water bug. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know that'll kill. Listen, you know what'll kill a deal? A damn cockroach. A cockroach will kill a deal.
Roach down the block. I mean,
you see that thing? You see that thing flying across the room? I'll tell you what, the mom would be like, nope, that's done. It. This isn't that. No, we can't buy this house. What do you mean? Look at that cockroach.
I had, crazy inspection stories. Buyers who wanted to have an inspection on a brand new condo. Brand new, everything brand new. Still on all the equipment under warranty, your fridge, this and that.
It was a relative actually that did that to me, but yeah.
Bring the inspector and bring a feng shui master.
Oh, I love those. Okay.
Feng shui. Did you record that? I want a lesson.
Everything goes well with the inspection. The inspector is like, okay, well, I'll charge you for this, but everything is brand new. It hasn't been used. It's, they just passed the city inspection. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You just got the temporary CFO. That's great. Okay. Everything works fine. You can close. It's all good. The feng shui master goes, this is not going to work. He does whatever. And he tells
it's not squared, this and that. It's
tells the buyer that the main door of the building should be on the opposite side of the building. And I'm like, that this would prevent them from having good luck in conceiving children, and there might be some health problems. And I'm like, I can't change the door. The main door.
I would turn around and be like, where do you see that, bro? Because I don't even know.
Wow.
Wait, what? So you mean to tell me feng shui masters can kill deals?
Yes, they can.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yes. That's a new one for me.
Oh, yeah. I was like, that's a short story. I don't even want to go in
You just reminded me of it. Oh God, here we go. So here was an interesting one actually. It's funny enough that it happened, but we went into. I was doing an open house for one of our agents at the time. Well, no, they're still with us. What am I saying? So I was doing an open house for them. Did the open house. We were on like the freaking 23rd, 29th floor in one of those big high-rise buildings in Forest Hills, and it actually faces like east. So it overlooks like, it's on the northern part of Forest Hill. So it overlooks the Grand Central, the Corona Meadow.
Northeast going into,
Van Wyck is on the other side. So I went through the whole house. I don't even want to mention like whatever. Anywho, so we went through the whole house. It was the parents, it was the mom, went through whatever. Long story short, we went outside. So I asked them, I said, hey, look, what did you think about the apartment? And they're like, oh no, it overlooks the cemetery. And I said, I said, cemetery. Where's the cemetery?
It's Flushing.
And we go, yeah. We go literally to the balcony. We come out into the balcony, and I'm looking, and I'm like, where do you see? She's like, right over there. And I'm like, over where? I'm like, all I see is the Grand Central, the Van Wyck. She's like, yes, past that. She said, past those trees right there. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, that's a cemetery. And I realized that was right by Main Street over there by like John Brown High School, I believe, or John Brown.
Oh my God, that far, huh?
It was over there. She's like, that right there is not gonna be good for us. And I'm like, I'm like, wow, okay. And I was like, I could have sworn that springtime, you know, like the trees blossom. You don't even see that right now. It's the middle of winter, you know. She's like, yeah, no, we could see the cemetery. So
I know.
Feng Shui is, you know, to a lot of people, even to me to this day, I learned a lot from that stuff, and it's interesting, but yet annoying sometimes. So
it can be.
I mean,
it can be.
But
I used it to purchase my apartment, to be honest, as far as the way the sun hits it. So like the sun rises in our bedroom, which is beautiful, perfect,
and
then the sun sets into like the living room dining area. So it's like perfect, you know. I get sun all day.
I've seen where you live. I know.
Which is amazing.
Other stuff that could stunt or snag or kill sometimes a deal unnecessarily. Some violations, you know, and I can, and you guys can probably attest to that a lot of violations are violations that were not closed. Where the violation was resolved, the fee was paid, but they did not have a reinspection, or the contractor did not close it, right? So a lot of the times it will definitely delay stuff, especially if you had like electrical permits out, you know, put out, plumbing permit, and it's been over 20 years, and you have to relocate that contractor. And it's like, you know, we're gonna have to close that permit, sir. And they need. I was able to. I know.
Joke's on you. I retired.
No, I know. So I had this guy who retired, but his son took over the business. Nice. The guy was able to was kind enough to send his son, and I said, dude, you never closed off that permit, you know. So we had agreed to a small fee to come back, even though everything was paid up front close to 20 years ago. But he agreed to come back, have his son redo the electrical inspection and close that permit. You know, just overall called it. I think it costs about $1,000 to the seller. But, you know, if it means that we can close the deal this way, why not? You know, so yes, you have to do sometimes retrace, go back into the building website and check out who opened up the permit that wasn't closed. And yes, that electrical company, then you need to Google that shit and find out. And sometimes they're around, sometimes they're not. It could get complicated. And that's why I always have that company that snoops around all those phone numbers and stuff and figures who owns the number and dig a little bit more. Yeah. So that's how I can get around stuff like that, you know. Easy violations.
You're like a private investigator.
I am. Easy violations could be, and this is for the listing agent to cure beforehand, sidewalk violations.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even when it's sidewalk, it's not necessarily the sidewalk itself. It could be like a curb violation, little stuff that you can have cured.
That's the most common one around here.
What can you mention to the viewers as far as looking, like what approach would you take to look for these things? Because I'll be honest, I had a listing that I took on that the sidewalk actually looked like it was done a few years ago, like it looked updated, but I didn't know that they had a sidewalk lien. So it was taken care of. The only thing was that it was never closed out. The city never came back to
Yes.
re-inspect it.
So
So
same
that was
thing.
the only thing.
That you can actually reopen a ticket in the city.
Mm.
There is a section in the city website, nyc.gov, where you can reopen a ticket and have the whole DOT,
Yeah.
because it's Department of Transportation, re-inspect the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's totally doable. Or you can hire an expediter.
An expediter, yeah.
I've done it when I've done the applications myself, when I've seen, like lately, like tree roots can cause sidewalk damage. And you have those new laws in the city where actually the city will remove the violations if it was caused by the tree, if you can see. And you have maps of all the New York City trees. And if you actually go yourself and apply and click on that tree location and say, this is the tree that is causing the damage, and send a request on behalf of the owner, they will actually cure it. Sometimes those are the little things that actually also lend you the listing. And if you can do it yourself, because it's a couple of things that you're going to write up on the computer, is hire an expediter and trust.
Yeah.
An
expediter should definitely help you out with that too.
Yeah.
What I've also, it's only happened to me once, but it's also, even if before it goes to title, contract, all that other stuff, you can reach out to the title company that you know of and see what information they can get that. So if there is a lien, this way when you go to a listing appointment, you can actually say, hey, listen, did you know you have a lien on sidewalk, whatever? And they'll tell you, no, I didn't know. No, I thought I took care of that. Then let's talk about a good strategy to get this thing sold and fixed up.
We've associated with some title company that would give you a pre-title rundown. They would give you the service for free. Like if they know you're going to advocate for them, when you're going to be ready to go to your listing appointment, is do a pre-title check. And then I also go along the way, I'm going to go check again things that may arise along the deal. You don't have any violations, and all of a sudden you have a violation as you go into you're into contract and you just got a new violation, and then the seller omits to tell you, oh yeah, there was a house inspector that came the other day because the neighbor complained, and they don't tell you those things. And it's good to sometimes recheck the property, the city website, and make sure there is nothing that came up from the time you listed to the time you went into contract.
Awesome.
Because it's like, oh yeah, the neighbor complained, and you see a new complaint, and you see like inspector came in and they started digging this and that. It's like, oh my God. Yeah.
Violations could be a pain in the butt. I tell you that.
But it's not a lot of the times, unless it's something insane where it's occupancy and you have order to vacate and all that. So those you should know from the get-go, they will be definitely huge problems.
Yeah. And sometimes it won't even kill the deal. I mean, some of these violations can actually, you can talk to the attorney, you can try to come up to an agreed number that you can leave money in escrow just in case, if that's how much it's going to cost for it to get taken care of.
Or not. I've had buyers who took on some houses with violations. Depending on the violations, some banks don't even run municipals, and the buyers were like, meh. Basement use, there is a bathroom. Yeah, well, we're sort of going to put a tenant in there. We're not telling you, but we're telling you, so whatever. We'll take care of it when we take care of it.
If it's convenient for the buyer, of course. You know what I mean? Like the past 2 years has been crazy for buyers. Like anybody would have took the house with violations, overpaid for it, but like the whole nine. Like that's what we were just going through. So of course. If it's convenient for them, they'll do it. They're gonna say, I don't care, But there are some individuals that feel like, for example, a sidewalk lien would be like the big, oh my God, they got to take care of it. And it's like, relax, it's okay, it can get taken care of. It's not going to be.
And you can also pass along. So some sellers really don't want to deal with it, so you can pass along the cost of the violation removal and curing and all the sidewalk work that has to be done. You can actually work that into the price of the property, and everybody is aware of it, and everybody is gonna be put down on the contract. There are many ways to cure this, and it shouldn't be an issue, right? And the big one, since we're in New York City and we talked about co-op condos and stuff, the co-op board approval. You're going to, you prep the, you have your listing or you have your buyers, you run the qualifications, did everything, and you send your beautiful co-op package. I know Israel has some beautiful co-op package. Everything is to the T, and all of a sudden the board is like, denying.
Yep.
What do you do?
Sit
What
down, cry
do
for a
you
minute,
do?
and then figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
I would
I mean,
like.
the thing I
I would
hate.
light
Go
the
ahead, Ed.
application. I would light the application on fire.
Oh man. So
that's wrong answer.
There's a lot of finger pointing situation when it happens that way, and what I feel like it's the unfortunate part. This is one of those co-ops are really one of those situations where there's no cookie cutter format for it anywhere around. When it comes to rentals, you already know what you need to look for. When it comes to homes, you already know what you need to look for. Condos are, sort of in the mix of both co-ops and condos. But co-ops, I mean, I just can't understand it. We always say, below 20% DTI or 25, need to have at least a year's worth of reserves. Depending on the building or depending on the complex, you need to have a certain formula for a pretty much an income requirement, right? But when you get denied for the most dumbest thing sometimes, or even the missed things, I think one of the smartest things to do, and as quick as possible, if possible, right, is to write a reconsideration letter. Some people call it an appeal letter. But write a reconsideration letter stating everything about the application that they might have missed. Throw in a little love letter in there as well, to say, hey, listen, we're young folks, we're old folks, whatever. We're trying to move in, we're trying to downsize,
and we will help you on the board, and we'll consider
whatever,
a seat
whatever
on the board,
you
whatever
need.
works. Yes.
I'll be your biggest advocate the moment you approve me, because it's things like that you generally want to do. Now, I've actually been denied a couple times. The first one hurt me. Like I one of my best loves just broke up with me, kind of thing. It's like my heart dropped, and like I did all this work, I did all this information from a buyer that I didn't want to give me any information. I did all that work, and then all of a sudden they decided to deny them. Then later on, I found out about the reconsideration letter because I was never told about that before. So then I did it.
Nobody tells you about that. Yeah.
Right. This is part of that little secrets of stuff that you don't get to hear about, right? So
like the top agents won't share that with you, which is amazing.
Which is why we're doing this now.
Right.
So, and at the same time, so pretty much I found out about it and how to write one. I GTS it, as we just said a few seconds ago. Google that shit, right? Yeah. A GTS formats different ways, so on and so forth. And then obviously once I wrote it out, believe me, my writing skills is decent. Once we wrote it out, once we got all the information in, once we got all the formats in, so on and so forth, I got that person approved. And the only reason why that person wasn't approved is because he had well,
sometimes management does not understand how.
That's one too. Yeah. But the board actually saw it in the sense of him grabbing a whole bunch of money from a different bank and putting it into his other bank.
Right.
So when you have an online bank, you sometimes can't just pull out your statements. You just need to, switch monies here and there.
Yeah.
And we just had to explain that. And then all of a sudden he got approved. So the point is, does it work? It's as 50% of the times as when you're trying to get approved by the board. So pretty much 50% of the times this recognition letter can work or cannot work. But you definitely want to make sure that you get it done.
Reconsideration letter.
Reconsideration letter. Yep.
So if you're a rookie agent, don't do it alone. Go to your manager or go to a mentor or have even a seasoned agent help you out, even if you need to pay them. It is not, putting the application together sometimes is gruesome. I add up a lot of stuff, especially if the buyer is not a cookie cutter W-2 employee. They could be W-2. One of them is W-2. Yeah. One has Part 1099, 10 W-2s. They have investments. They have a Schedule E. They have a Schedule C. So on this, you have to be able to extract all this information and sometimes put into a spreadsheet. I am probably in my personality, this is probably the worst thing for me to do because I am not a detailed person. But if you want to make that deal work, you have to come out of yourself and really like help out the buyers, because a lot of the times you have to assume, and you don't want to demean the board either, but you have to assume that they may not understand the financials of those buyers, especially when they're strong buyers with a lot of investments. And this is where I encounter that a lot of the boards mistake some of the calculations, the deductions, and this and that, and do not understand. So letters to a company, stuff from the accountants, spreadsheets to explain it. You need help. You need, and not all agents know even about the remediation possibility on those co-ops, but it's doable, very doable.
Yeah, it's definitely doable.
Yeah. I'm not saying it works all the time.
Exactly.
You're going to have a tough board that is very inflexible, and where you have a lot of ego involved, when it's the same board for the last 30 years and they shuffle things a little bit but never put new blood in there.
Right.
It's a tough one. Yeah.
So I mean, some of the points that I've actually run into, right, and when it comes to denials, is either, again, explanation of the finance, so they probably didn't see it that way, right? And another one is pricing, right?
Yeah.
So there are certain prices that they, obviously this board member probably had the same kind of home and doesn't want the comps to look like this amount when they wanted this amount.
But again, it's a part of our due diligence. You see, like I just got a little condo co-op in Glen Oaks Village. First thing I did, looking at the comps, because I'm not, and I will admit it, I haven't done too many sales myself in Glen Oaks Village. We've had, as an organization, we've done it. But looking at the comps, I'm like, I'm seeing some listing price, and then I'm seeing some sales price from 6 months to the next. The prices are completely different, and things hasn't really shifted much on the market. So I'm like, let me call management. And as I call, the girl say, oh, yeah, we have like a market price for each floor plan, each unit layout. I'm like, got it.
I've seen that.
Yeah. And you're like, okay. So that's why, the behavior in pricing from your comps did not make sense. It did not match with the market. And I'm like, let me just call them and figure out what's going on.
See,
so
now
it's
that works.
Due diligence,
Right, but that works. Again, what happened for you in that sense? You have a management that was willing to talk. You get management companies that are a little ego as well and don't want to speak to anyone.
Yeah, it's
at
tough,
the same time. There's that little, it happened to me in the Bronx, where in the sense that the sales, when you have one building away from other ones that have been like miles away from you, right? You have one building that only had one sale in 1 year. So it's like, again, it was so many different puzzles that one had to go through to try to make things happen. Right. But at the end of the day, pretty much, again, if you don't know the answer, because you'll never know the answer as to why they denied you, it's best to actually, again, say, hey, listen, can you please reconsider me? Here's my little love letter. If we need to rework, if you need a little more information as far as my documents or anything, please, here it is. If you need, if you'd like us to rework the price so that we're able to make this happen, please let us know what what number you're looking for.
We can amend
so
the contract.
Anything
but you see, again, as the buyer's agent, you also need to be doing your homework. A lot of buyer's agents are super passive and just let it fly and rely on the listing agents to help them with their application. I think you need to get out of your comfort zone and really get involved. If you have to, jump in with management, ask questions if they're willing to answer you, and be kind and bring them some donuts, some coffee, some some iced coffee in summer. It does work. It does work, right?
I could 100% vouch for that.
Absolutely.
Because we're always going to encounter the same big management companies. I'm not going to name them, but it does work if you build a relationship with them. It does work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one has
do you have any
other
other ones
stories
or anything?
No, I mean, as far as what we just touched on, I had a buyer that application went through and everything. They got to the interview, had the interview, and then the buyer was turned down.
I've had that too. So those are different
Yeah.
issues. I
So
don't even want to get there I mean, like everything computes, and then you have a
yeah.
board member who's super discriminatory. I would say even racist. I've
So
heard
But
statement
just
back
go
from
ahead, Ed.
buyers where
I dug pretty deep on it, and yeah, you're right. It has happened. That happened to me too, as far as age discrimination.
unfortunately the private
know?
corporation is very
Yeah.
hard to even yeah.
So with this one in particular, I mean, whatever. With this one, as I went through it, I dug. I ask questions. I call everybody, and usually they don't release the information. But come to
Mm.
find out, it was a no pet. It was a no pet building, and this person had a dog.
Mm.
Was
And
it a service dog?
no, it wasn't. And then it was a pretty big dog also.
It's a 200-pound dog.
I don't know, but it's funny because they never disclosed it. But come to find, they said no pets, but come to find out, and this is how crazy it is when you're putting together a co-op application. All right, you need to be very transparent on everything that you're doing, and if there's something that the co-op might not agree to, you need to literally acknowledge it, put a circle around it, and give an explanation for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's how to the T you should be putting together those applications.
Mm.
And come to find out, they saw vet expenses.
Mm.
On the credit report or in the statement?
On her banking statement.
I know. Wow.
So that's how deep these cooperatives are digging into your files.
Oh no. I'm going through co-ops right now where
Yeah.
they've been transferring money from overseas, and not everything is. All of a sudden, I'm seeing a transfer from a number, from an account number into that account, and I'm like, is this parents? Is this stuff? And the buyer say, oh no, that's our joint account. I'm like, why it's not in here? Oh, because it's also our joint account. My husband is not going to be on the application. No.
If
I
you're
need
on that
1
account-
year of that too.
If you're on
And
that
it's
account,
like,
yeah.
I looking at, because they had gift and they transfer, like the husband gives a gift and does transfer from overseas. That's when you're looking deeper. But my lesson is like, you're gonna have to always look at those statements and see what's up. Because when I was actually looking at the statement, looking for the contract deposit, and that's where you've seen it. So yeah, it's very, very important. This avoided probably a denial right there.
Yeah, so they literally went into the interview. They didn't even ask. They just questioned about the dog, and then they were like, "Oh, and that was it." It's like as soon as they asked the question, it was a downward spiral. I'm sure
Yeah,
they asked,
yeah.
they dug deep, and
Yeah.
clearly it wasn't going
But
to
you
make
know-
sense for them.
So what's a good thing about what you just said is also, and I don't know, Gigi or anyone can answer this, but to my understanding is once the board has that interview, it's over. But once they deny you prior to the interview, you still have a chance.
Yes, after the board interview, this is done.
Yeah.
Before the board interview, if it's a denial, that comes as a letter without even them scheduling the interview, and they say we're going to turn down this package, that you can remedy. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that was my story.
Oh wow, guys! Thank you for those great stories. Yeah. I guess we're done. Enough of but a lot of the times you can remedy. You just need to be aware what you're dealing with. If you don't know, have a mentor, a manager help you out, and hopefully they can help you as well.
Right, and if
And
you
if
don't
not,
have,
give us a call.
yeah, or find somebody who's a really good co-op person and go from there.
Yeah. Or even any other transaction, person. If
Yeah.
you've had enough transaction under your belt, you know what kind of problems you can encounter. All right, so
Sure.
thank you for tuning in. Let's put that music again.
Ooh, what are you guys doing this
Alright.
weekend besides open houses?
I'm going hiking on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, with the girls.
I'm just gonna be
And,
meeting with the family on Sunday.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
Sunday it's gonna be showing some stuff. Yeah.
I'm actually going camping. I said, you know what? Forget about it. We're going camping this weekend.
Absolutely right.
We're going to pack the truck
Absolutely
up
right.
right after this, and we're out of here, man.
Yeah.
We're going to go camping,
All right,
enjoy the
guys.
weekend, come back
Have
on
fun.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Hey, we want the
Okay.
weekend. You already know. Here, you ready? You ready for the beat drop?
Yep.
There you go.
Happy Friday, everybody. Enjoy your
Happy
weekend.
Friday.
Stay safe.
Peace
And
out.
like always, peace. We'll see you guys next Friday.
Yep.